So yes, the market just closed, and so hopefully you guys are on the right side of things. We will discuss that. We'll talk about that today. Let me just lay some ground rules. My goal is to be with you guys probably for the next hour, no more than an hour and a half. So just bear with me if you can. I'm going to show you some things that can allow you to see tops. So even what has happened in the market today, what happened yesterday, what has happened in the market pretty much this year was not coincidence. And if anybody missed it, the good news is that you can learn how to spot these things. We spotted every single one of these ahead of time. We spotted them, we warned about them, we put out recordings, videos. I mean, we did everything we possibly could with our own limited resources and power to let everybody know what was about to happen. Okay. And so there's a saying that I usually have, which is that the stock market is not random. And hopefully today I can show you that. So my goal today, honestly, is by the time we're done, everyone on this call that participates will be able to spot the top. Now, this is something that I've heard many people say in the past that you cannot spot the top. Nobody can pick tops and bottoms. Okay, so I think that's partially true, but partially false. We have been picking tops and bottoms for a very, very long time. The question is whether or not we know how to pick the absolute top, or does it really matter? And so today we are going to be jumping into that. We're going to be talking about, I'm going to show you examples after examples till you're bored with examples and you're like, I get it, Wally. Okay, I get it. So that's what we're going to be doing today. But let me introduce myself first. Oh, actually, before I do that, there's always a risk disclaimer that we have to put out there. And that really comes from the government letting us know that we have to let people know whether we're licensed financial advisors or not. Now, we're not. I'm gonna just let you know that right now. However, what I do know is how to read charts. I am very, very good at reading charts. I have been predicting tops and bottoms, and I'll show you examples after examples of how we were able to see this before it happened. I usually tell people I challenge any expert out there to be able to read charts just as well as we do. And this is not about being cocky or bragging, but it's just what we've done. Okay. And so that's just our risk disclosure statement. Just because I'm not a licensed financial advisor doesn't mean I don't know how to see the warning signs that you need to see in the chart. So today what we're going to be doing is we're going to try to discover how can we prevent crashes like this from happening. And when I say prevent, excuse me one second. Excuse me. When I say prevent, I'm saying for us, like we can, it's nothing I can do, nothing that you guys can do to prevent this from happening, but from it from happening to us. So how do we avoid getting caught in a stock like this? Or maybe better yet, how can we spot that this is about to happen before it happens? Keyword is before that happens. So that's what we're going to be doing today. Here's another example. Wouldn't it be nice if we knew that this was going to happen before it happened? And so again, by the time I'm done with you today, I promise you, you should be able to see and tell that this type of drop is about to take place way before it takes place. Here's another example. If you would like to know stocks that have done really well only to come crashing down, I mean, this is a stock that went up to $300 and is now trading for 30 bucks. That is a 90% drop. And people would try to tell you there's no way you could have seen that. It's all luck. And I say that's not true. I say that we are going to learn how to see that this is about to happen before it actually takes place. So stay with me today. And again, I promise you today that by the time we're done, you will be able to see this with your own two eyes going forward. Now, one or two things is usually going to happen. One is either you're going to believe it, okay, or two, you are going to put it into practice. It's one of those two things. But one thing I would always say to people is that don't let me be the judge. Let the chart itself be the judge. Okay, that's one of the beauties about the stock market. Let the chart itself be the judge. And then because when you see these things that I'm going to be showing you today, and then you come back, in time to look, the problem is most people forget they've moved on to the next new thing. But what I'm going to show you is how to spot these things. And then when you go back, I even encourage you to go back to some of the stocks that you've lost a lot of money on. If you're one of those people that's ever held on to a stock long term, hoping that it's going to come back and it just never did. You've been holding on to this for 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, hoping that it's going to come back, and it hasn't done so. And I say, go and take a look and see whether or not it displayed these topping patterns, and you'll start to begin to see why they didn't come back. But to say that we cannot spot, or there's not enough warning signs to tell us that this is about to happen, a 90% drop, not always 90%, some of them are 40% drops, right? That's still huge. Some of them are 50% drops. Some of them are 60% drops. We will see these things before it actually happens. That's my promise to you. And we're going to show you how this is done. But before I jump in, a little bit about myself. How many people already know who I am, has already heard a presentation about me in the past? Just please give me a thumbs up or double Y something if you've ever heard me before, you've seen any of my presentations in the past. Okay, so trader, yeah, I remember. Well, I'm hoping it's the same person that I think it is. I've seen you on there before. Welcome. I appreciate you coming back. I see another trader. It would help if you guys can give me your names, but it's okay. I understand if you want to be anonymous, you don't want to tell me what your names are, that's not a problem, okay? But I see trader on here. Bill, okay, first time seeing me, Bill Patel, very good, thank you. All right, so I really hope that you guys are going to learn something. For those who are first timers, welcome. And I hope that what I show you here today would really enlighten you, okay? A little bit about myself. I was a guy who, I'm the technical strategist, the chief technical strategist over here at Right Side Trading. I consider ourselves a research firm, and the reason why I say Ashton, okay, yeah, no worries. Hopefully, again, this will be an enlightening moment for all of us here today. I studied accounting in college. I went to University of South Florida in Tampa, Florida, which is where I reside right now. And I studied accounting. After college, I ended up going into real estate and did really well in real estate. Oh, welcome, Benitez, I think, Kayan. I went into real estate, and this was in 2005. And by 2007, you guys all know what happened. I was making so much money. Let me just share this with you guys real quick, just so you guys get to know me a little bit. I'm a God-fearing man, and so it was interesting because when I was making so much money in real estate, I remember saying to myself, and I'll never forget this. This is October of 2007. Okay, I was making so much money, and I remember one day sitting and I said to myself, "Man, making money is so easy. Even God can stop this." Now, anybody who's a religious person like I am would understand, whoa, that's a big no-no, right? It has been said that the Titanic, before it set sail, one of the comments was that the Titanic was so huge, even God cannot sink it. Well, I was that guy that said, wow, the market is so great. I'm making so much money. Even God can't stop this. And as soon as I said that, I smacked myself in the face, but I think it was too late because you all know what happened 2 months after that, the 2008 financial crisis. So I tell people, I said, look, everybody wants to blame the subprime mortgage mess and all that kind of stuff. I said, no, I'm the one. You're looking at the guy that caused the 2008 financial crisis. Okay. You was with Remax in 2008, Victor. See, so you understand exactly what I'm talking about. 2000, right before then, we were making so much money. I mean, I lost everything. When I say I lost everything, my house, all my employees, my cars, everything. The only thing I kept literally was my wife. She was the only one that I did not lose, and I thank God for that. Okay, but long story short, I decided to get back, not into real estate, but actually into buying businesses. And in that process of me trying to buy businesses, I took my financial accounting background and started analyzing businesses. So I was working for a mergers and acquisition company. And what we did was we would look at companies and try to see which ones are good ones from bad ones to actually buy. So I made the recommendations of what a good company is from what a bad company is simply by looking at their financial statements. And then after a while, the light bulb went off. I think it was in 2011. The light bulb went off in my head. I said, wait a second, if I can analyze companies, is it possible for me to analyze companies on the stock market using the same information? So I went in there and I started doing that. Lo and behold, I realized I could tell valuable companies from overpriced companies in the stock market. And so that got me interested in like, hey, wait a second, if I can tell a company that's undervalued, why not jump into the stock market? And so that's what started my journey into the stock market. Now, that was in 2011. Okay. I started dabbling with that in 2011 using my financial fundamental that I was doing fundamental analysis, huge fundamental analysis, spending hours upon hours, analyzing financial statements. Warren Buffett was one of my heroes that I looked up to because, he would tell you accounting is a language of businesses. And I was like, yes, this makes sense. I understand the language. I could see things that other people can't see. Great, right? So then when I got involved in the stock market, I realized something. There were companies that I will find based on my research that were so undervalued. But when I look at their stock, the price was so low, but it never went higher. Okay. So I'm like, okay, great. This is great. Let me buy these companies. So I'll buy these companies, and they literally kept on going further down. And I was like, this doesn't make any sense. Why is it that great companies are still doing poorly? And then I would hear about these, this was back then before the meme stocks came out. They were like social media stocks. And I would see all these social media stocks that had no financials, no earnings, no nothing that should be worth zero. And their stock price is just going up and up and up. And I was like, whoa, this is crazy. What's going on here? Long story short, as I started, like, this was perplexing to me. I was like, this doesn't make any sense. Like, it's not supposed to work this way. And that's when I discovered something called technical analysis. And I was like, what? So anyway, so I went in and I studied technical analysis, and I was fascinated by how technical analysis worked, that I literally started taking what I knew in fundamental analysis and financial statement. I said, okay, this is what a good company looks like. What would that look like on the chart from a technical analysis perspective? And so as I started merging those things together, I started noticing certain patterns. And I started noticing what a good company looks like on the chart versus one that doesn't look good. I started noticing when the value start increasing on the chart versus when it doesn't. And that, ladies and gentlemen, started making a difference huge difference. And that prompted me to want to study more. And needless to say, I've become an expert in technical analysis, quantitative analysis, and that's what I do now. And so when I tell people we can see the tops, we can see the bottom, I can tell you a good company. I know when people say, hey, this is a great company. But then I look at the chart and I'm like, nope, it's not. Or even if it is, it's not ready to move. That's a huge difference. Or, hey, this is a horrible company and is about to drop, but maybe it's not just yet. But I can go and then say, oh, yeah, now this company is ready to start dropping. You can start seeing these things. And so, because of that, from 2014, no, 2000, so I did my research from 2012. I got involved in the stock market. The whole 2013, I lost money following the fundamental way. And then I had to sit back, and that's when I started studying technical analysis from 2014 to 2016. 2016 came, I have refined everything, and it has been a blessing ever since. Okay. And so now I share these things because I realize that a lot of people don't understand. And I remember when I was relying on the experts on TV to tell me what's going on, like in 2008, and the market was going down. But it was one of those things where even though I was in real estate, I had no idea about the stock market at that time. I would always hear people on the news say, hey, market's going up, market's going down, market's going up, market's going down, just like they're doing right now. Have we hit the bottom yet? Have we not hit the bottom? And it was always this guessing, guessing, guessing. And I remember it wasn't until Obama became president that I said, you know what? Obama says we're not in a bear market, so I'm going to believe Obama. Ask anybody today, was 2008 a bear market? And what would they all say? Yes, in hindsight. But while it was happening, there was a lot of wishy-washiness going on. And that's one of the things I promised myself. I never wanted to be in that situation again where I have to keep on guessing. And so we have a saying in our company, in our firm here, that says, we don't guess, we don't hope, we don't wish. What we do is we see data. We know what that data is communicated, and then we expect the market to react that way. So much so that If it's not, then we know something is wrong and we need to get out of it. Does that make sense? So we're data analysts. We follow what the data says no matter what. I don't want to hear the story. People who know me will hear me say this all the time. I don't care about the story. Tell me the data. Does that make sense? And so because of this, we focus on identifying good companies at attractive prices, making sure that the risk is low and they have potential for profit appreciation. That's what we try to do here. And so because of that, I don't trade every single day. So I will let you know, like, look, even though you can apply what we do to a 5-minute chart, a 1-minute chart, I personally just don't do that. Okay. I've learned to see the bigger picture, position myself on the right side of the market. And that's the reason why we call our company right side trading. You position yourself on the right side of it and sit back and let the market do its thing. Make sense? So some of the notable calls that we've had recently, the cryptocurrency crash right before it started crashing this year in January. I actually even posted it on social media. I'll share more about that later on. When we said the market was about to crash, and I remember people telling me, "You don't know what you're talking about." Da 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 da. Okay. Options. I used to do options. I don't do options as much anymore, but you can still apply this to options as well. Now, one of the interesting things, Victor, when you mentioned options, was that I remember, understanding how options played this and this and this. But one of the things that really helped was when I understood where the direction of the market was going to go. Does that make sense? And it even got to a point where I could even give an estimate how long it's going to go for, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? So yes, you can use this to help you with options. But one of the things I always say is like, it's so much more better when you understand what's about to happen to a particular stock or the market. The top of the market this year, January 2022, we called that, and I'll show you examples of that. When the pandemic happened, right before the pandemic happened in 2020, we called the top, okay? We called the top. The bottom of the pandemic in 2020, March of 2020, exactly March 23rd, 2020. That was the last day it hit the bottom. Literally that day, I was on a live call and I said, oh my goodness, the market is showing that it's hit a bottom. And I was surprised. I was so shocked because it happened so quickly. It had only been in a bear market for 2 months. And I said, wait a second, this is too early. Why are we seeing the bottom yet? And so I literally was so skeptical that I actually waited a whole week later. And then by April 6th, we decided to start getting back into the market. Now, when we started getting back in the market on April 6th, all the media was still talking about unemployment rate, record unemployment record, what they call the jobless claims. Restaurants were shut down, businesses were shut down. People were still trying to figure out how to work from home. Stimulus packages was going all over the place. The whole world was shut down, right? And so when the market kept on rising, a lot of people were in doubts. And I was like, and so they was like, no, 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 this is just a relief rally. It's going to come crashing down because everything around us is down. But I could see that money was actually flowing back into the market simply by understanding how to read certain things. And by the time the market finally made it up to the top, the skepticism that people had turned into frustration and anger. Oh, this is not right. Why is it that all the great companies are doing well when the economy had not reversed yet? You guys remember that? Why is it that the market is doing well? All the big companies are making all this money. These stimulus checks are going to the big company. It's going to the greedy people. The tax code favors the rich people. That was what people started crying about rather than say, hey, what did I miss? And unfortunately, a lot of people miss it because a lot of people that they were following did not see those things either. And I'm going to show you that you can learn to see these tops. So that's a little bit about myself. Hopefully that clears things up. Here is what I mean when I say right side of the chart. So the reason why we call our company Right Side Trading, RST to be short, is because we have to figure out what's going to happen on the right side of this chart. Everything over here is the left side, right? This is the left side of the chart. All this is in hindsight. Now, hindsight is good for one thing and one thing only, to help us understand the data, but it doesn't help us make money. So you guys remember that, right? Good. You guys are referring to like, what happened during the pandemic when the pandemic was rallying. Excellent. Thank you for that. The right side, right here, the very last candle here, How do we know based on this information whether the market is going to go up, sideways, or down? That's what we're going to do. Today, we're going to focus on one thing. Because of time, we'll focus on one thing, and that is how to spot the top. Does that make sense? Here is a report that I wrote. I always write this report every weekend. You can see this report. This is back in, if you can see this right here, this is 2020, January 2020, when we talked about the top. Notice what I said. This is an excerpt of the report. I'll just say here, the writing is already on the wall. It is time to take profits, exit the positions. The market is warning us to take heed. This was before the pandemic happened. Now, what you notice in here is not something like, oh, maybe it could go down, let's hedge ourselves. No, this was a stark warning. The writing is on the wall. This is not a 50-50 kind of situation. This is something bad is about to happen. Get out, get out, get out. Okay? Take your profit, exit your position. Look, we've been warned. We've been warned. I did the same thing this year. Exact same thing this year, right? Right before it fell. And then what ended up happening? Market dropped. This is the same report that we wrote about in March. Now, we write this on the weekend. So even though March 23rd was when it happened, by March 27th that weekend, we wrote the report. And in that report, it says, have we found a bottom? Or is this just a relief rally? The answer is, look, just like the bearish signals that warned us of the bearish drop, this time the market is communicating that it is time to cover all short positions, not maybe some, like cover all of them. Exit your short positions and get ready for a rally. Okay? Get ready for a rally. Simply because we saw things that most people are not privy to. So I like to tell people this. People get excited about stocks that have made huge moves and huge profits, but the true credit goes to those who have trained their eyes to see the setup. So what is this setup? Okay, that's what we're going to do now. So let's begin. What is this setup? What is the top-in pattern in a stock like this? This is one of the examples that I gave you. Right before the stock dropped off, what is this setup? What is this top-in pattern that occurred? Now, this is just one of many. I'm just showing you guys this again. My goal here is to prove to you that you can do this, right? This top-in pattern is something that we call a selling pressure, a shooting star. Thank you. Okay, it's the same thing as a shooting star. Now, many people know about the shooting star who study candlesticks, but it always perplexes me how they never use it to predict the top. Okay, I mean, let's be honest. How many people know what a shooting star is? And if you knew what a shooting star is, did you use it to see the top that occurred in Bitcoin, in gold, in the market, back in January of this year? Because the answer is no, you didn't see it. Then the question is, why not? Why not? I like to tell people, I said, it's almost like this, especially for the people who already know what this is. And this is not knocking anybody at all, right? Have you ever seen the yield sign? If I asked you, some of you guys have heard me say this before, but if I ask people who've never heard me speak before, what color is a yield sign? What would you say the color of a yield sign is? We see a yield sign all the time on the street. What color is a yield sign? Anybody? What color is a yield sign? Okay. So Sean is saying, hey, what color, shooting stars on what time frame? Very good, and we'll get to that, Sean. That's a very good question. So I will get to you. I'll get to that for you as well. Okay. Yellow and black is what I'm seeing as a color of a yield sign. Color of a yield sign. Color yield sign. Yellow, yellow, yellow. All right. Okay. Going once. Going twice. The yield sign, ladies and gentlemen, is not yellow and black. The color of a yield sign in America, in Australia, in Canada, and in England, believe it or not, is red and white. The same color as a stop sign. Wow, right? So the question is, how did we not see that? Yeah, I promise you, when you leave today's call, just get in your car, drive outside and find the first yield signal. and you'll see that is yellow and white. So the question is, how is it that we've been driving all these years and we still think it's yellow and black? I'm sorry, not yellow and white, red and white. Why is it that we drive till today and we still think it's yellow and black when in reality it's red and white? It's because we overlook the details that surrounds us. And I believe that happens in the stock market too, where it's like we know enough to be dangerous, but we know enough to hurt ourselves. Does that make sense? My hope today is to be able to give clarity so that way we don't take things for granted and we can see, look, we need to pay attention to certain things. Okay. So selling pressure is something that it's the official name, just so you know, is called a shooting star. We like to call it selling pressure because we modify just slightly, not a lot. Okay. Not a lot. But part of the reason why we call it selling pressure is because, to us, the logic here is that price went up. Okay. Everybody was excited. Market's going up, market's going up, market's going up. And then massive selling took place to bring it back down and cause this wick. Same thing right here. Price went up at some point during the day, during the week, during the month, during the minute, during the hour, whatever that time frame is that we're looking at. Price went up. Okay. And then what ended up happening? It came right back down and even went even further down. And so is that selling pressure, this selling pressure right here, to me, that is huge. It's a big warning sign that something is happening. Whatever it is that got them all excited to make them go up has now spooked them. Some new data, some new information has come out to make them want to sell. Does that make sense? And that's why I like to use the word selling pressure. But again, the official word is called the shooting star. Okay. The reason why I don't like to use the shooting star is whenever I think about shooting star, the only thing I think about is a stock that is ready to go higher. Can anybody relate to that? When you hear the word shooting star, I'm thinking it's going to shoot up, right? And that used to confuse me in the beginning. So that's the reason why I changed the name to just selling pressure. Okay, because with at least selling pressure, that helps me see, hey, there's a lot of pressure on the sell side. What's going on? Whereas when I hear shooting star, psychologically it just makes me think, oh, it's ready. Oh, we got a star that's about to shoot to the moon and beyond. No, 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 no. That's not what a shooting star is telling you. Shooting star is quite the opposite. So if that helps you, great. If shooting star is what you're used to, that's fine too. Here's some things about the shooting star or the selling pressure. The biggest thing I want to know is that the wick right here, the top of the wick, the top is bigger than the body. This is the body right here. It's bigger than the body, and it's bigger than the wick at the bottom. Make sense? This is huge. This is very huge. Okay. That's one of the things I want to see. I want to make sure that the top of this wick is bigger than the body. If it's even, I don't know. If it's almost similar to, if it gets to a point where it's even questionable, I kind of like, I don't know, maybe I should wait or find something else. I want it to be very distinct. Like it should be right there in our face. And so the biggest thing I want to know is that the top of this is bigger than the body and as well as bigger than the wick at the bottom individually. Okay. A lot of times some people will confuse this with, hanging man candle. A hanging man. Okay, so I'm not sure whose name this is, but it's just coming up on the trader. Trader said more than 2 times. No, I actually don't do the 2 time thing. Okay, I don't necessarily do the 2 time things. I know like there's some information out there that said it has to be 2 times. I don't worry about the 2 times. I just need to make sure that it's bigger than the body and it's also bigger than the wick underneath the body. That's the biggest criteria. Okay. Some people might confuse the selling pressure with the hanging man, which is the opposite, right? The hanging man will look something like this, where it's the one at the bottom that is longer, right? I want the one at the top, so it has to be something like this, where the one at the top is the longer one than the one at the bottom. The other thing is, I see this a lot. This is one of the most common mistakes you see with this, is that they will confuse it with a doji candle, okay? And I can understand that. So a doji candle is when the body is almost like flat, right? And so you'll have a candle that looks, let's just say something like this, right? And that's, oh, that's a doji. Or they'll see something like this and they'll say, oh, that's a doji candle. Or they'll see something like this, oh, that's a doji candle. And I said, you got to be careful because to me, yes, this is a doji candle, but what I see is more of a selling pressure. Why? The wick up here is bigger than the body and is bigger than this one down here. That makes that doji a little bit more powerful now. And the danger is because like a lot of people have learned that doji is just indecisions. I get that. But this is not indecision when it's a selling pressure. This is a warning sign. Does that make sense? And so this is why I say, people get it confused with dojis. Try not to get confused with doji. Now, a doji, maybe something like this, okay, fine. It's even at the top, even at the bottom. Maybe even this one will pass as a doji, right? But to me, if I had something like this, that's not a doji. I mean, it is a doji, but I look at the fact that the top wick is bigger than the body and is bigger than this bottom. That to me is, I don't even consider that dojis anymore. I consider that as selling pressure. Does that make sense? So I just wanted to use this to help clarify, just some ways that we look at selling pressures slightly different than what you might know out there. It does not need volume. Now, if you want volume, that's fine, but I don't need volume. I'm just saying, like, if you don't use volume, you don't have to worry about it. So it's not like, hey, I got to look at this and see what volume is doing now. It works with news or no news events. So sometimes you'll see it come out and there's a news related event. That's fine. Other time it'll come out and there's no news whatsoever taking place. Either way, you got to treat it equally, which is a warning sign that things are about to get bad. What it usually signals is that the top is to be expected within the next 6 candles. So this is where a lot of people get confused to. Again, they see it, and one of the worst things is that a selling pressure signal shows up, and then the market actually goes green the next day, like this, right? And so that's it. Oh, it was a doji. Market is trying to go higher. Okay. And what they are completely missing, quite frankly, is this right here. Expect it to top out within the next 6 candles. I've done my research, ladies and gentlemen. I've put in hours. When I say I was determined, some people's like, how did you put in so much hours to understand and see these things right here? Do you have attention deficit disorder? Are you on this high spectrum of Asperger's? I was like, I don't think I am, but I was determined because my goal was to never let 2008 happen to me again, where I'm trusting what the media is saying as opposed to what the charts are communicating. So this is why I spent so much time trying to tell the difference between the ones that were good and the ones that were bad. And so in the event that you have a doji signal or selling pressure, and then followed by a candle that is bullish, and then you'll see another one that's going bullish, and people like, see, oh yeah, it's going higher. Buy, 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 buy. And I was like, you got 3 more candles. Now, this could be on a 1-minute chart, 5-minute chart, could be on an hourly chart, could be on the daily chart, weekly chart, monthly chart, quarterly chart, whatever time frame you want it to be. All I'm saying is like, you only got 3 more of these before it does what? Rolls over. And that's something that most people have no idea about. That alone, ladies and gentlemen, is worth your time coming to here and listening to this. Okay? Because if you start paying attention to these things, when I hear people say, oh, nobody saw this crash coming, or worse yet is when I'm trying to warn people the market's about to crash. And they're like, no, 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 no. I read this article here. And part of that is because, again, say this is the selling pressure. Then the next day goes up and the next day goes up. And I say, guys, don't fall for it. Next day goes higher. Next day. And I said, don't fall for it. Watch out for XYZ. And it's like, then all of a sudden, boom, you just see a big drop. It's like, oh, nobody saw that coming. It's like, you were warned. You just didn't know. Like the yield sign was there. You just didn't pay attention to the yield side, to the yield sign. Does that make sense? So again, it can stand alone. If you have other indicators or signals that you use and you can combine it with it, no problem. But again, you can use it on any time frame, honestly. My preferred time frames are these 3, daily, weekly, monthly. I'll tell you this one thing. The higher the time frame, the more severe it is. So For the person, I think it was a Sean person that was asking what time frame, it doesn't matter. Okay, it doesn't matter what the time frame is. But to answer your question, hopefully, is the higher the time frame that you go on where you see it, the more severe that stock is in trouble. Does that make sense? Let me see, who was the one that asked that question? I think it was a Sean, somebody, Sean. Yeah, Sean, right? So hopefully that helps answer that question, Sean. Like, the higher the time frame, the more severe it is. Can you use this for bottoms too? Yes, you can. Absolutely. Okay. But it works. I'm gonna just be honest with you. It works better with tops than it does bottoms. Does that make sense? It works better with tops than it does bottoms. All right, let's move on. Um, so when you predict market tops, it depends. It all depends. So when we saw the one for January, it was on the monthly time frame, Sean. We saw it on a monthly time frame, and then we started monitoring things more closer on the weekly and daily. And then what happened is once we saw that on the monthly, Sean, what happened was that we could tell the tops on a each month thereafter by looking at the daily time frame. Does that make sense? But the first thing that warned us that something huge was about to happen was the monthly time frame. When we saw that on monthly, it was like, whoa, what's going on, guys? It's like, get out, get out. So when I put out all that, hey, the market is warning us to take heed, take your profits, get out, get out, get out, it is because we see things on the monthly time frame. Okay. And it's not just the market itself, but we look at certain stocks too as well. Some of the big companies and say, hey, what's going on with these big companies? If they showing this, like I'll show you an example, like Amazon. We saw Amazon. It's like, whoa. I said, what's going on with Amazon? That was actually probably one of the very first things that made me say something is wrong. I had looked, I saw it on Amazon. I said, Amazon, what? Why? Like it blew my mind. I said, why is Amazon showing top and bans? And then I started going on, I'm kind of digressing, but I started going on to other stocks. I was like, whoa, it's like, wait a second. And it was like, it was one of the stages like, you put on your binoculars, it's like, whoa, there's zombies everywhere. Like, where did they come out from? Or this place is infected, right? And I was like, whoa, what's going on? And so anyway, so we started saying that, and then we started monitoring things on a daily basis, weekly basis, and then we started seeing, I was like, oh my goodness, this is bigger than most people are seeing. Long story short. But does that help you, Sean? Again, there's a method to it, all right? But the point is, it can be done. Okay, it can be done. All you have to see is just one. It depends. Now we like to focus on the S&P 500 the most. That's the first thing that we look at. Is we look at the S&P 500. We have um, five major indices that we follow. Okay, and maybe I'll share that with you later on too. But we start with the S&P 500. We look at five major indices, and based on what's going on with those five, we can pretty much tell you what's about to happen. It's amazing how we can. I don't want to say predict the future. I hate using that word. It's amazing how you can tell what's about to happen, what the charts are communicated by looking at those. Okay, so remind me at the end to share those five with you. Let's go to the charts. Let's analyze this. Here is TAL education. Do you guys recall when China decided to crack down on the online companies that were Chinese companies listed in the United States and said, hey, you need to be delisted and come to Hong Kong. If not, you're going to be penalized, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Notice how the stock has been going up. I mean, this is a stock that back here was around, let's call it $5, $10, went all the way up to $90. And then look at what happened up here, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, look at what happened up here. Tell me that's not a selling pressure. Now, this was news related. Okay, this stock had been doing phenomenally well. I mean, it was been doing great from 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019. Man, they were doing well during the pandemic. Look at how these stocks are doing really well. And then out of nowhere, the Chinese government comes out and they said this. And here's the interesting thing about this was because when the Chinese government came out and said these things, I literally remembered, I don't know how many of you guys remember this, but I literally remembered experts on the media and in TV saying, hey, it's going to come back. Don't worry. this is a good time to start buying because these prices dropped. Now imagine, let's say you didn't even catch it at 90, right? You didn't see it. And it wasn't until it hit $55 when this first happened, this big drop took place. Maybe that's when you first saw it. This is where I felt so bad for people because so many of these quote unquote gurus and experts say now's a good time to buy. And they were using all kinds of technical analysis to justify the fact that it's ready to do what? Go back up. But I'm seeing this and I'm seeing this. And I was like, good luck. You guys remember that movie Taken by Liam Neeson? And it's like, good luck. And then this happened. This happened. Wasn't coincidence, ladies and gentlemen. Okay? Wasn't. Um, I meant to say, I have one question. If the chart is going in sideways, do we have any idea if it would change its course or gain momentum? Very good point, Amit. So typically when it's going sideways, what you want to do is put it, force it into a range. Does that make sense? Find the top of that range. So if you have, let's say this is the side distance, right? You go here, here's the top of the range, here's the bottom of the range. So far, so good, Amit? Okay. This is a monthly chart, 10 years, that's correct, Keller. This is definitely a monthly chart. The 10-year doesn't really matter. It's just the fact that you see the monthly chart. So you could be looking at 1 year monthly chart. You could be looking at 20-year, 5-year. It's the fact that it's the monthly, okay? Which is very interesting because a lot of people, again, don't zoom out to see the big picture. See, one of the things when we were doing financial analysis for these companies that we would acquire, one of the requirements is like the company I work for would never buy a company that's been in existence less than 3 years. Okay. Any company less than 3 years, they just simply would not buy. Now ask me why. Why would they not buy a company that has been in business less than 3 years? They would not buy a single company. It doesn't matter how much money the company is making. They simply would not buy a company that has not been in business for more than 3 years. Do you know why? They needed to see that it was seasoned. That's all. They needed to see that it was seasoned. And so I looked at that too and I said, huh, okay, if this is what we have to do to determine good companies from bad companies, right? We need companies that have good seasons, then why not do the same thing with stocks too? And one of the things we do, anybody who studied accounting would know that some of the things you do is like you compare quarter to quarter, previous quarters to current quarters. You compare year to year analysis. You do those kind of things. You look for the trend in year to year analysis, quarter to quarter analysis to kind of give you an idea. Because just because a company's doing $1 million, that doesn't necessarily mean good or bad. It depends on whether that $1 million today was it $5 million 5 years ago, and then $4 million a year after that, and $3 million and two, and now one. Okay, so yeah, they're making $1 million, but the trend shows you what? It's going down. But you would have needed to see the 5 years worth of data to kind of see that kind of information. It's the same thing with the charts. Okay, I hope that helps. But going back to Amit, you force it into a range. And you have to learn to be patient enough, Amit, to wait until it breaks out of that range. I literally just did a video 2 days ago that I posted on YouTube about the Fed announcement. Somebody had asked me, hey, how do we anticipate jumping in front of the Fed's announcement? And I said, well, you really don't want to jump in front of the Fed's announcement. But that's not how we do it. Okay. So we don't have to do it. I said, typically what will happen is that Monday, Tuesday market will go sideways. Find where the range is, draw your range there. And then just wait for the announcement to come out because we don't want to guess. Remember what I said, we don't guess, we don't hope, we don't wish. We see, we know, and we expect. So I went out there. You can go on my YouTube channel. You'll see it, Right Side Traded on YouTube. You'll see it right there. We said, okay, here's the range, 390, 380. That's what we said, 390, 380. I said, now, the day of the Fed announcement is going to come out, which is Wednesday, which was yesterday. I said, wait until the end of the day. If it's above 390, we're going higher. If it's below 380, we're going lower. And guess what happened? Yesterday, we closed below 380. Guess what happened today? We went lower. We don't guess. We don't hope. We don't wish. We see things. We know what the data is telling us. then we expect it to do those things. Rick is asking, look, after seeing the selling pressure, where do we enter or exit as there appears to be an early selling pressure candle in the tile example some 5 candles ago? Okay, so very, very good point. And I'm not going to discuss that answer here. That's part of what you're going to learn when you sign up for the offer I offer you at the end. Okay, fair enough. But the answer is there. It's just that I'm not sharing that on this call. Here's another example, Fiverr. I don't know how many people know about Fiverr. I want you guys to see this. Stock started taking off. Here's when the first selling pressure occurred. Okay. Despite on the monthly chart, yes, Keller, very, very good. You getting it. See, again, I'm glad to hear you say this because again, hopefully, like some of you guys already knew this thing, so sometimes it's just a reminder. Others of you guys are learning brand new information. So whichever the case is, hopefully you're beginning to see with your own 2 eyes. And that's my biggest thing. Like I don't want it to be where people are dependent on me because I know how that felt depending on the media to tell me what is going on. I wanted to be able to see it with my own 2 eyes. And so one of the things I try to do is look, I'm gonna show you this. You don't have to trust my word. Just listen to what I'm saying, take notes of what I'm showing you, and then go back and see with your own 2 eyes whether you can identify that yourself. Okay? And if you can identify that by yourself, then you know, wait a second, I've seen something here. Let me learn more. And if you look and you say, this doesn't make any sense, I want to see what he's talking about, then it's not for you. But it's not like, oh, Wally said this. I'm going to show you. I mean, we've been doing this since 2016, 6 years now. My wife is retired. My kids are homeschooled now. You know, we don't have to do anything we don't want to do, but just look at the market and teach, and that's it. Okay. But here we go. Selling pressure right there. Kind of answering, I can't remember, I think it was Rick that was answering that question. Hey, what's the difference between this one and this one or this one? It's what you get to learn at the end when you come back, because I'm going to do a workshop, a live workshop on Sunday night. I invite you to that. I promise you I will show you everything that you need to see then. Okay. But suffice to say, when this occurred, you guys remember what I said when you see the first one, how many candles it takes before it tops out? About 6 of them. 1, 2, 3. On the 4th candle, can you imagine everybody saying to the moon and beyond when this happened? And I was like, oh no. Momentum buyers are selling. Thank you. God bless you. You know, a lot of volatility. This is a lot of volatility taking place right here. Is another one sign. It's like, hey guys, it's like the tremors before the earthquake. Does that make sense? It's like the tremors. Imagine the tremors before the earthquake, and somebody who's never been in an earthquake before is like, oh, okay, yeah, it's kind of scary, but let's move on. But you who is experienced, you can tell, whoa, 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 we need to get out of here. Get out. Like this is not good. There's too many tremors going on. And then when the earthquake causes a collapse, oh, nobody could have seen this. The warning sign was there. And I'm hoping that you guys are beginning to see this as well. Let's move forward. You guys remember the company Beyond Meat? When it came out, the story was phenomenal. Oh man, the story of Beyond Meat was phenomenal. This is the daily chart here now. Okay, and they were doing phenomenally well, right? But I told people, I said, look, Beyond Meat is not where it needs to be. And so recently, when it started hitting higher, 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 I said, oh, let's watch what happens. And then notice how, again, look at how big. I mean, look at how this is. Look at these selling pressures, the warning sign before this thing tumbled. This thing went up from like about $22 to $44. That's 100% move to the upside. Boom. What are people thinking? Momentum to the moon and beyond. But like Keller said, this is the pump and dump at this stage. So they pumped it up and they dumped it. Pumped it up and they dumped it. And while people were still thinking, hey, it's going to come back, it's going to come back, it's going to repeat itself, what they missed was the yield sign, the warning sign that said, this is going down. Let me fast forward some more. This is another online company. We'll skip that. This is another IPO stock. A lot of IPO stocks that did really well. Selling pressure, boom, comes down. Just going to fast forward now. Okay, look at this. This is a stock on the weekly time frame. A student of mine actually brought this to my attention. This stock had went from like literally $10 to about $70. At the time they brought it to my attention, I think it was at 60. At that point, I said, wow, this stock has gone up like crazy. They say, Wally, how can we catch stocks like this? I said, well, I wish you had told me this earlier, not after, which is one of the things that most people hear about these stocks after they've had those huge runs. So I always try to tell people, look, if you're getting your stocks from stocks that is already on the news after they had those huge runs, could you get, from 60 to 70, quick day trade? Yeah, you could get that. Yeah, don't get me wrong. But again, the warning signs were already there that something was about to happen. So when this happened here, and they came back the next week, hey, what do you think? Should we still get it now that the price has dropped? You think it can go higher? And I say, we don't play like that. The warning sign is there. It's a yield sign. Pay attention to it. Well, you think we can still run this light? It's turned yellow. You can run it if you want to, but I'm saying don't try it. Just let's play it safe. Boom. Everything it gained, literally, from this $5, $10 here, it lost it all eventually. And that's what happens when market crashes. But to say that you didn't see this coming, I disagree. Teledoc, a good student of mine, very good student, still a good student till today, told me about Teledoc. He's a doctor or surgeon, he's in his 80s, surgeon, right? Told me about this. And long story short, I believe him. I said, yeah, let's do this. So we got involved in this together. And then, this was during the pandemic, right? When things were just going well. I said, oh wow, this is a rock star stock. Great, right? So then it started doing this, and he said, "Wow, we got to buy more." And I was like, "Yeah, we got to buy more." Started buying more, and then this showed up, and I was like, "Uh-oh, we got a problem. Houston, we have a problem." Exactly. And I said, "No, this is not good." And he was like, I think you should hold on to it, Wally, because this thing can do well. And I thought about it for another month. I went in, I said, I can't do it, man. I'm sorry, I just can't, So I had to get out somewhere down here, maybe somewhere here. I said, I can't do it anymore. Stock kept on going down, down. I remember when this happened, he said, man, you need to come back in. You need to come back in. I said, not until the chart tells me it's time to buy. Look at where the stock is now. Boom. Okay. P. John is saying Beyond Meat. Let's go back to Beyond Meat. He said Beyond Meat right here. He says Beyond Meat doesn't seem to have gone 6 candles prior to the crash. That is only for one time frame view, or is that the max? How do you know? Okay, so a couple of things. If you're looking at this right here, it could happen. Like it doesn't have to be six. And I'm hoping that I'm getting your question correct. Okay, so forgive me if I'm not. If what you're looking at is this right here, and you say, oh, that didn't last 6 candles, it doesn't have to last 6 candles, okay? So hopefully you understand that. It has nothing to do with less than 6 candles. And like I said, today, my goal is like, look, the warning sign is obvious. Now, what I'm not sharing today is this is what tells you it's time to short, okay? But at the very least, John, is that it would tell you, wait a second, that's a warning, right? That's a warning. Does that make sense? Like at the very least, you'll see that's a warning sign. Like this is not supposed to be happening. It's kind of like what somebody said. It's like momentum buyers are beginning to sell. And think about that. This is momentum without a question. That's momentum. Even this right here, that was momentum. But now that momentum buyers are selling, why are we still in there? There's a movie called Sabrina. I don't know if anybody's ever seen it. It's a romantic movie with Harrison Ford. You guys ever seen that movie? Sabrina. I don't want to spoil the movie for you, but there's a scene in there where his chauffeur became a millionaire. I'm probably messing it up for you, but just forgive me, please, because I think this is important. He became a millionaire, and when his daughter found out that he was a millionaire, his daughter said, "How did you become a millionaire? I didn't know you." He said, "I invested in the stock market." He said, "What? You're a driver? What do you mean you invested in the stock market?" He said, "Daddy might be just a driver, but Daddy's a smart driver." He said, "All the time I would take, Harrison Ford's character, Mr. Whatever his name was, and he would make all these calls about what companies to buy, what companies to sell." He said, every time he did it, as soon as he got out the car, he bought the same thing and sold the same thing. If you heard him say, look, sell all my shares in this company, he sold all his shares too. If he said, buy all my shares in this company, He'll buy. And if he didn't see anything, he'll ask it, hey, so what's going on in the stock market today? What companies are you looking to buy? And Harrison Ford's character had no idea that this is what he was asking all these questions for and what he was doing. But he just followed the big guys. That's all he did. You follow Paul Pelosi. Hey, hey, I'm gonna leave that right there, Paul. You about to get me in trouble, John. You're trying to get me in trouble. I'm just gonna leave that right there. But do you understand what I mean? Like if the sellers are selling, that's what this signal is telling us here. That's what I'm trying to get you guys to see. Make sense? Okay, so that was that. AMC, you guys recall the meme stocks? This is a daily chart. I'm showing you this because I want you guys to see, like, it's not just a monthly chart. It's whatever time frame that you're on. Okay, whatever time frame that you're on. Look at this. Once this happened, momentum came in. Boom, momentum. Once this happened, that should be in a huge warning sign that, hey, something is wrong. A lot of people will see this, oh, that's a doji signal. Yeah, it is a doji signal, but it's the fact that we have a selling pressure what tells us that what? We put in a top. Either right then and there or within 6 candles, it's not going to go any higher and it's going to roll over. Same thing right here. Momentum, selling pressure. 1 candle later, 2 candles later, 3 candles later, 4 candles later, and what happened? Pew, rolled over. I'm not making this up, ladies and gentlemen. This is something that happens over and over and over. This happens in cryptocurrencies. It happens in futures market. Okay, it happens in all over the place. And yes, we need a scan for that. But more than anything else, Sean, is that hopefully today you can say, hey, next time you see a selling pressure, let's call it selling pressure. Just indulge me. Let's call it a selling pressure. Next time you see a selling pressure, you start saying, hey, I see the warning sign. I see the yo sign. Nobody should say, oh no, we didn't see this coming. Back in the day, I used to tell people like, hey, you can predict a crash before a crash happens. People called me out on it saying I was a scam, saying I didn't know what I was talking about. And nobody can predict. It's like if all the experts can figure it out, what makes you think you can see this? And I'm saying it can be done. That makes sense? It can be done. Let me show you some examples. We'll blow right through these very quickly. Just want to show you this. I show you this because you guys remember the stay-at-home stocks during the pandemic, right? You guys remember that? When all these stay-at-home stocks were doing really great, everybody thought, man, to the moon and beyond. Notice what happened. This is Zoom. You guys remember Zoom doing well? What is this? Selling pressure. Okay? The higher the time frame, the more severe it is. Most people are not even paid. Look, even if you're a day trader, it doesn't matter. Just take a glance at the higher picture. It's like going up on the top of the mountain and seeing what's going on. It's like getting an area view of the market. Why would you not take the time? It doesn't even take long to see it. How many seconds does it take you to see that is a selling pressure right there? Like, it doesn't really take long at all to see that that is a selling pressure right there. And so if you can see that that's a selling pressure, it's like, why not do something about it? And that's my whole point. Does that make sense? Boom. Next thing we know, this is what happened to Zoom. Look at that. Warning signs were there. Let's take a look at another stock. Peloton. I just saw that today. Peloton. You guys recall when Peloton was a hip stock to be involved in because everybody was trading at home because of the pandemic? Well, this is what happened. Look at that, ladies and gentlemen. Selling pressure. Okay, so what happens? Within 6 candles, 1 candle, 2 candles. Look at how it's going higher, ladies and gentlemen. What is this again? Another selling pressure. 3 candles, boom, 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 and then it began. You go back out here. What has happened to this stock? We didn't see that coming. Oh yes, the warning star was there. Okay. Ketla is saying, I use 3-month daily for near-term direction. This may help to see direction for calls and put. Absolutely. Very good. Absolutely. I totally agree with you there. Jay Stevens is asking, does it need a lower or can it be a shaved bottom? It can be either one. As long as that bottom is not longer than the top wick. Okay. Is there a buying pressure and how to spot that? Yes, there is. But unfortunately, that's not the topic for today. But GP, yes, there is. Okay. And yes, you do trade slightly different from the top. Okay. Sean is asking if candle on the bottom is the candle on the bottom called a hammer? Which one are you referring to? I'm not sure which one you're referring to. The one at the bottom. Are we talking about the bottom down here, Sean? I'm not sure which one you're referring to. The shooting star. This one right here. Oh, okay, I see what you're saying. So if you look at this right here, okay. Yes, that is actually if that's the one you're referring to, that is actually an inverted hammer there. Yes. So there's a difference between the shooting star and inverted hammer, and really it just comes down to location. Where is it located? One thing I didn't mention is obviously, if a stock is already going down and you see a selling pressure, no problem. Okay. I mean, it's already going down. It's when it's doing what? Going up. It's kind of like you said earlier, momentum. Okay. Because we're talking about the top of the market. Exactly. Today's topic is how to spot the tops. You guys remember my my headline was what? Let me go back here to the beginning. Give me a second. Sorry about that. We said today's topic is learning to spot the top. Okay. And that's what we do. Learn to spot the top. Okay. Um, there's a whole different class on how to spot bottoms. Actually, it's my bread and butter on how to spot bottoms. We are so good at spotting bottoms, it's unbelievable. Okay, unbelievable. And anybody can do it too. Okay, but let me just go through these real quick. So again, I'm just using examples of stocks that we hear about. Here's Roku. Again, another stay-at-home stock that did well during the pandemic. You see here's the pandemic bottom right here, started going higher. Everybody, I mean, I don't know if you guys remember Roku doing really well. And then what ended up happening to Roku, right? We started seeing selling pressure start occurring. I said, uh-oh, that's a problem right there. And then like, oh boy, it's getting ready to roll over. And then next thing you know, what does it do? It starts rolling over. And for somebody to say, we did not see this happening, is what I'm saying is not true. I'm just going to zoom forward. Let me just show you more examples so we can end this. Look at this. Boom. Selling pressure crashes back down. One of the cool things about this is when you come into this class that I'm going to do on Sunday, I'll show you how to tell which ones are going to come all the way back down to the bottom level right here from the ones that are not. Okay. Which ones are going to come all the way back to the bottoms down here from the ones that are not. That's huge. Why? Because even if you missed this right here and you caught it over here, we literally did this on who was it, on Bed Bath and Beyond. We did this on Bed Bath and Beyond. Okay. Even if you come down here and it's like, hey, wait a second, here's one of those that, according to the data that Wally showed us, it should go all the way back to the bottom. And so in that kind of case, it's like, hey, I can still short this at 60 and the bottom here is about 20 or 30 bucks. Okay. So do you want to do something with that? That's up to you. We literally, let me show you if I can even see this. We did this on Bed Bath and Beyond. Let me show you guys here. This is Bed Bath and Beyond. This is literally the analysis that we were doing. Okay. This is a screen from the live webinar I was doing. Okay. On the daily chart, we saw Bed Bath and Beyond go from $4 literally up to 30 bucks. And then in 1, 2, 3, 4 days, dropped all the way back down here. And I was like, guys, I said, the bad thing is anybody who bought up here is in trouble. The good news is like if you haven't bought this, guess what? This thing can go all the way down to $4. What price is Bed Bath and Beyond on today? Let me see. Not even sure. I know it hit $4, that's for sure. Let me see Bed Bath and Beyond. Where is it at now today? $4. Look at that, ladies and gentlemen. Boom. $4. We saw this happening and said it's going to go down to $4. And look at where it is today. $4. Actually lower than when it began, okay? Because it really went to 450. But we saw that. And it's because of the things that I'm going to show you here on Sunday. I encourage you, come join me. I promise you, like just as much as I'm making this clear, you will see how clear it is to see this thing. I have done my research. Okay. I've done my research to get to this point. All right. So a few more things, and then we'll wrap it up. If you want to come join me for $97 only, I am literally dropping prices simply because I know we're in a recession. I know that people are hurting. I don't want price to run people away. Okay. And so I'm bringing it to a price where it's like, look, if you want this, $97, you can come in. I will show you how to go to this link right here, rightside trading.com/expo. This Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, we're going to go into the details of this. The questions that you guys had. How do you know when to exit? How do you know when to buy? How do you know when to short? That's huge because you guys have seen, some of you guys already pointed it out. We've seen ones where they seem like, hey, here's the selling pressure, but I've shown you like, hey, they can go up for 6 more candles. How can you tell when that's happening? Versus, hey, this is already happening, it's shorted. How can you tell when it's time to get out and take your profits and run? How can you tell when it's going all the way back down to the bottom, those 40, 50, 60, 90% drops that you can see on these charts? Huge difference that it can make. You're trading options. How do you know the length of duration to be paying attention to? These are things that you want to be paying attention to, okay? And that's what I'm going to show you here. $97, come on in on Sunday. We'll start at 8 o'clock, and I'll honestly stay with you until I answer every single question you guys have. Typically, it probably should take an hour and a half, no more than 2 hours. But if you need more time, it's going to be recorded. So anybody who can attend live, you can come in there. But take advantage of this, ladies and gentlemen. I will show you how to see this. It's the advanced version of this whole thing. Okay. What are you going to get? The workshop, how to tell the bullish and the bearish setup. So those of you guys who've been asking, hey, how can we use this for the bull side? I'm going to show you how to do that. What are some of the other mistakes that you need to be aware of so that when you see these things, you don't make those mistakes? Fastest and easiest way to tell when, hey, you've entered it and then something has gone wrong. We'll talk about that. We'll also cover the personal rules that I created to ensure that I can identify the fake ones from the real ones. Okay. Conditions of when to use them and when not to. Learn how to tell which one is going to work with certain stocks. That's key. Which ones are going to work with certain stocks? Let me give you an example. If you use this on, like, say, penny stocks, that could be an issue. Okay. Now, this is going to cover everything. This is going to cover everything that I'm promising you here. You're going to get everything there. Okay. This is going to be everything on there. All right. So, yes, when you come to that workshop on Sunday, I will show you some other courses that I have. If you're interested in those courses, yes. If you're not interested in those courses, no. But as far as understanding the selling pressure, it's 100%. I'm going to give you everything you need to know. So it's up to you to choose at that point in time where it's like, hey, okay, I've got everything I want from selling pressure. I don't need anything else. That's fine. Okay. If you're saying, hey, okay, let me hear what you have to say about some of the other courses that you have, Wally, because I have courses on IPOs, I have courses on earnings, I have courses on seasonality. You might not be interested in any of those, but yeah, I'm going to offer it to you. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm going to offer that to you. Okay, but you don't have to buy anything. Does that make sense, Victor? You absolutely don't have to buy anything at all. Okay, but when you come there, you'll see what I have, and the price are going to be different because I'm going to offer you guys stuff at a discounted price for those who want to take action. So let's not jump the gun. All right, let's just say, look, for $97, at least so even if you don't spend anything today, right? Say you don't spend anything today, you have at least learned how to spot tops. Fair enough. You pay $97, you come on Sunday, I will show you everything you need to know from what I've been sharing you right now. Whereas, like, everything from how to tell the bullish side, the bearish side, how to see the mistakes, how to make sure that you don't fall for, how to tell when something has gone wrong, the rules that I use, identifying the fake ones from the real ones, when to use them, when not to use them, which stocks to use them on and which stocks to stay away from. These are things that are going to be able to help you. Hernandez is saying the URL is unreachable. Make sure you don't type in www in the front. Just type in rightsideTrading.com/expo. Okay. And I think they put a link in here in the chat box. Okay, great. All right. We're also going to like when should you use stops and when should you not even worry about using stops. As you shorten these stocks that they keep on dropping, should you use stops? Should you not use stops? Those are good things to know. I promise you, I'm going to share all that with you 100% with you on Sunday night. No gimmicks, no nothing. If I sell you anything else after that, it's based on other courses we have, not pertaining to these candlesticks here. That makes sense? How do you scan for them? Okay. Do we have written materials? No, unfortunately. Well, do we? You know what? I might have a written material. I think I do. I think I do. Okay. I'm pretty sure we do. Yeah. So I just forgot to add that to here, but yes, we do have the written material. So I will give that to you too as well. All right. That is pretty much a presentation, but I'm going to show you some other things here, just kind of like, educate you a little bit about what we do. Here is a student of mine. His name is Donnie Bravo. Really great guy. And here's an example I use because I don't know if you guys see here, October 28th, right? 24th, sorry, at 7:43 a.m. Notice what he posted on his social media page. I expect a rally in the stock market today. What do you guys think? What do you guys think? I expect the stock market to rally in the market today. How did he know? If you go back and look from the 24th up until literally yesterday, the market rallied. Okay, the market rallied. This is somebody taking the same information and using this. This is not even me telling him now. When this guy came to me at first, good friend of mine now, when he came to me at first, he's like, man, I've taken so many courses. I just don't want to make these mistakes. I said, look, I will show you how to see the things. You will see with your own two eyes. I did not tell him, I promise you, I did not tell him to put this out there. He did this all on his own. He's now been making videos on, hey, guys, watch out for this. Market has not hit bottom yet. I promise you, I will tell you when the market hit bottom because there are things you can see. And people are like, oh no, this or this. It's like, nope, the data is not showing it. Very proud of the work that he's done. This is the video I put out there on that same day. This is me putting a video out. This is my YouTube channel. 90% probability of a rally. Okay, up until literally yesterday when the market started dropping. So on October 24th, I was literally on a live podcast, and the host of it was saying, hey, where do you see the market going by the end of this week? And I said, it's going higher. He said, what probability would you assign to it of that it's actually going to happen? I said, 90% probability. He's like, whoa. I said, 90% probability. I said, because it's all on the charts. And guess what? For the rest of that week, market went higher. And by the time this week came, we knew the Feds are coming out. I said, that's a joker card. I said, look, guys, here's what you need to do. And I have a whole new video that I put up there. This is what's going to happen. If we go above here, we're going up. We go a little here, we're going down. We're not, it's not, I don't want to say rocket science, but honestly, you can learn to see those signs. So again, for $97, take advantage of that. Here's what was causing Bitcoin. I got to share this one with you guys because when Bitcoin was happening, remember I said Bitcoin was going down, right? In February, there was an article that came out, Bitcoin sinks on mounting Russia-Ukraine tension. You guys recall when they all said the reason why cryptocurrencies is failing is because of the Russia-Ukraine war. How many people are still saying that it's because of the Russia-Ukraine war? Or have they changed their tune and now they say it's inflation, right? But back in February, you couldn't tell them anything. At that time, inflation was still kind of creeping in. It's like, are we going to have inflation? Are we not? Are we going to have inflation? Are we not? All I know was that we knew cryptocurrency was going to go down. And so because of that, we actually posted on there. And here's a friend of mine that was like looking at this and say, hey, look, honestly, if it wasn't for the war, I know it'd be going up. I said, look, it has nothing to do with the war. Or maybe if it does even have to do with the war, the fact is we saw the warning sign. Here's the article, that same weekly article that I wrote on January 7th to the 9th, that weekend of 2022. So the more we zoom out, the clearer it is becoming that Bitcoin is displaying some major topping pattern. This is going to look ugly. This is not looking good. Chances are very high that Bitcoin is going to suffer for the next 4 to 9 months. That's literally what we wrote in January. In February, we saw that article. The recording, so I went out there and I put a recording together, and you'll see this, it's still up there on YouTube. Bitcoin is in trouble, GBTC is in trouble. And I said, staying away from buying Bitcoin is what we're going to do. We're taking this one in very seriously. If what we see in Bitcoin is going to have a ripple effect on other cryptocurrency, then the right side, to be honest, the bearish side. From what we see, it could be 4 to 9 months before things turn around. January 11th, 2022. So when this article comes out in February and says, oh, it's because of the war, it's like, it has nothing to do with the war. Okay. Here's a discussion I was having back and forth with somebody. Say, hey, you don't know what you're talking about. You can see they saw their post on January 12th. They came back and said, you don't know what you're talking about. Look, it's turned around. Bitcoin is coming back. And they showed me the link to a guy's YouTube video that's talking about how Bitcoin is going to come back. And all I simply said to him is this, send me what he says in September. How is it that I was able to see this? I promise you I'm going to show you that when you come in on Sunday night. He scoffed at me, laughed, ha ha ha, 9 months from now, okay. And I had to reemphasize, look, that's what my analysis was all about. Bitcoin will struggle for over the next 9 months. And look at what he said. From your analysis, I see what you see, but I disagree because the news trumps analysis sometimes, so there's no guarantee either way. And my honest answer at that point, okay, if that's what you want to believe. I'm seeing the data. It's like you see a red stop sign. It's like you're gonna have to stop in 2 intersections ahead of you. Yeah, I see a sign over there, but I don't agree. Okay. You can't argue with the chart. You can't argue with the data. I said, okay, fine. Now look at where Bitcoin is. That guy needs to check his emotions. I know, right? And you know what? It's so funny. So many people need to check their emotions. Because I promise you, he was not the only guy. It just so happens he was the one bold enough to kind of text me back and forth. But there were many others that said the same thing too. Oh, I don't know about this. I said, you know what? I can't. I said, all I can do is look at the data. And this is why I said we don't guess, we don't hope, we don't wish. We look at data. And that's why he said, look, I even see your data, Wally. I see the data that you see, but I disagree with it. Because why? News trumps analysis. And I said, you know what? Even if news trumps analysis, guess what? The data would change too as well. But until that data change, don't get sucked up in the emotions of it. And that's what happened here. Okay, that's what happened here. 9 months later, where is Bitcoin now? Bitcoin is down. So again, $97, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know. I mean, I'm literally reducing this to the lowest price I can possibly reduce this to, so that way you guys can take advantage of this. Fair enough. Any questions before we call it a day? Thank you so much, by the way, for being on this call. I really hope, if nothing else, okay, if nothing else, that you have this perception now that it's not impossible to see the top. Okay. Thank you. So John is saying that he just subscribed to the channel. You're most welcome, and I appreciate you doing so. If nothing else, hopefully you guys can see that we now can see a top. It's not something reserved for the experts. Okay, KT, thank you for joining. Appreciate you. Thank you, Victor. I appreciate that. So at the end of the day, it can be done. We've been doing this, ladies and gentlemen. Like I said, we're not hindsight traders. I'm not one of those guys that are going to come to you in the past and say, oh, yeah, see, we could have picked that top there. We could have picked that bottom there. We see them as they happen. What's going to end up happening is you're going to see it too. Initially, if I was to be honest with you guys, initially what happens is some people get skeptical at first, right? So they see it, but it's like, letting go of that old belief system that you had. It's probably going to be the most challenging things. And then some people get greedy and say, hey, I'm going to tweak it this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, you know? It's life. I get it. But I've laid down the groundwork and I'll show you what I've done. You can save yourself. If you did not see that top in January, and actually, let me do this. I forgot to show you guys this. How did we see the top in January of 20 of the SPX? Let me show you this so that you guys don't think I'm making this up. We were looking at this. Let me go to Amazon. Oh, actually, let me go here first. Monthly chart. Can you guys see this? What do you guys see here? What is this? What is this? Right? Selling pressure. See, when that happened, and then let me see, Apple. No, not Apple. I'm sorry, Amazon. We go to Amazon. Amazon. Look at this, ladies and gentlemen. Look at this on Amazon. I saw this and I saw this. I was like, oh, what? What in the world? Like, this literally, I kid you not. This was the first thing that triggered it for me. This is what made when, and I can't remember what we were doing. I just so happened to see it. And I was like, oh, no way. Amazon? And this is when I say, whoa, something is wrong. And I remember I was talking to this hedge fund guy, and I said, this is not good. Like now, you gotta understand, this was before the market even started dropping. I said, this is not good. I said, Amazon is about to drop. He came back and told me impossible. It's Amazon after all. At the time, Jeff Bezos was still the richest man in the world. Like, oh, it's Amazon after all. There's no way it's coming down. I'm like, um, then why is this showing up, right? So I said, we need to monitor this. And so I remember telling the hedge fund guy at the time, this was a pre-split. So at the time, I can't remember what the number was, but I said, I think they were like, what, 3,000 something. And I said, Amazon is going to go down to 2,600. Now, 2,600 is roughly around 120 level at that time. So we were looking at Amazon somewhere around 180, 170. And I said, oh my goodness, Amazon is going down to at least 120 area. At the time, it was 260, something like that. And he was like, impossible. I said, for your sake, I hope so. Right? But the warning signs are there. And I said, I don't know about this, man. We need to start selling, you know? So it was one of those things where it's like, okay, so we saw that, and then I said, look, let's go get insurance. Like, we need to insure ourselves. So we started insuring ourselves on Apple, we started insuring ourselves on Tesla, all our big positions, we started insuring ourselves. I said, just in case. But the warning sign is here. And I said, let's go for 9 months. And I'm gonna show you when you come in on Sunday night, why 9 months, okay? Why we knew 9 months. Does that make sense? I'm gonna show you, even with Bitcoin, I say, hey, the next 4 to 9 months, there's a reason why we knew that this is more than like the data is there. I will show you how to see this, ladies and gentlemen. So come in on Sunday night. I promise you, you won't regret it. Let me end it there. Thank you so much for being on the call. My kids are already looking at me saying, hey, Daddy, let's go out and play. So I'm going to take them out to go play. But I look forward to seeing you on Sunday night. Again, the link is this right here, rightsideTrading.com/expo. If you have any questions, you can email us at info@rightsideTrading as well. But I look forward to seeing you on Sunday evening. God bless you all. Thank you, and have a wonderful weekend. Bye-bye.